Hi, We Read Bookers! I thought I'd do that thing where I tell you what I read last month, but I didn't read anything in March, so I don't really know what this video is going to be about. Just kidding. April Fools. Oh my god. I'm hilarious. Hi, it's April 1st. Thought I'd tell you what I read in March. I read 4 books. 2 of them were long and difficult, and 2 of them were really great, but I enjoyed all of them, so let's get started. I started with The Narrative Life of Frederick Douglass by Frederick Douglass. This book is really short and I highly recommend it to everybody. It's like 150 pages. Frederick Douglass talks about his life from his birth all the way up to being a free man and abolitionist. So it's really interesting, everything that he went through and what he had to go through to get to where he was, and how much luck was involved of like being able to live in a city suddenly and learning how to read and write, and really fascinating, really quick read, and really enjoyed it. 5 out of 5 stars. I'm also working my way through the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas. I just finished the second one, which was Crown of Midnight. Crown of Midnight felt like a really good lead up to how exciting the rest of the series is going to be. Like I said, I really liked the first one, but I felt like, okay, we've seen this plot before. And the second one, I'm like, she's going somewhere with this plot that I did not expect, and that's very exciting. And then she really ramps it up at the end to like, holy shit, this is what we've been waiting for. And we leave our main character as she's sailing to a different land. And I don't want to get too much into the plot, because I think you all should read it if you're into YA fantasy. Although it's more sort of like new adult fantasy. I don't know what Sarah J. Maas likes to call it, or she just likes to call it a book without having to classify it as anything, but it's definitely fantasy. I'm looking forward to reading the 3rd one in April and eventually finishing that series, so it's keeping me happy. I am 3 presidents down out of 44. I don't like to acknowledge the 45th. So I finished Thomas Jefferson's biography. There's lots of Thomas Jefferson biographies out there, but I picked The Art of Power by John Meacham, because it was the highest rated and it had the most ratings. Jefferson, oh, I knew I wasn't gonna like him, but I like kind of extra didn't like him after reading this. I kind of felt almost like John Adams' biography by David McCullough gave me more insight into Jefferson than this book did. Just from the perspective of a friend, like how John Adams and him were friends, and then they were rivals, and then they were friends again later in life. And I feel like that John Adams biography could have just been John Adams and Thomas Jefferson biography. I mean, I do get a little bit more of Jefferson's presidency in this book, which I didn't in the John Adams one. I was more talking about John Adams' retirement during that time. Jefferson, so many flaws, such a flawed man. And, you know, I'm just not a fan of him personally. And it might have something to do with the slaves and just his double standards and the fact that he always kind of thought he was better than everybody. I mean, John Adams had a lot of that too, but John Adams recognized that he had that pompous, like, smart air about him, and Jefferson was just like, I'm perfect, I don't understand what you're talking about. So, not a great fan, but I mean, it was an interesting biography. I felt like, just knowing that I had read the Adams one before this one, I felt like I came in knowing a lot about Jefferson, and I was not disappointed, because I felt like, yep, that's Jefferson, but like a little bit more info and a lot worse of a person. Just not a great fan of his. I'd say in terms of presidents that I like out of the 3, it would be Adams, Washington, Jefferson. Now in terms of the biographies I've read, which ones are the best, it would be Washington, Adams, Jefferson, because the Washington biography was like, it was amazing. I mean, it was really just chock full of information. It was the best laid out biography by far. This Jefferson one I felt like it was kind of all over the place, but I gave it a 3 out of 5. It wasn't my favorite. I'm looking forward to reading Madison's biography though, because he's the one that's like mentioned the most throughout probably all of the books so far. Madison was, you know, I think he was in George Washington's army, or he was involved, so I'll get a little bit more of the Revolution, whereas John Adams and Jefferson were in Europe at the time. So I'm excited to get back into the Revolutionary War with Madison and then kind of go and see him be a part of each presidency and then eventually become president. I'll tell you the one I'm looking forward the most reading right now is going to be John Quincy Adams, because that dude was interesting. After reading the Adams biography, I'm like, I'm ready for John Quincy Adams. Enough president nerdy talk. I finished Thomas Jefferson, 3 out of 5. I guess I'm just gonna leave it at that. The book that took me the longest to finish this month, I finished it last night. It's a doozy. David Copperfield. by Charles Dickens. The only Dickens I read is Christmas Carol and The Old Curiosity Shop. Liked Christmas Carol. Old Curiosity Shop was good, but I felt like, oh, this is long. David Copperfield had a little bit of both there. It was long, and there was parts where I was like, I feel like I don't need to know this about David Copperfield's life, but the way Dickens writes and like really gets you into the characters of David's life, and I mean, it's his most favorite book that he wrote was David Copperfield, and so I can kind of see why people, when you're getting into Dickens, they say, okay, well, you gotta read David Copperfield first, because it is kind of like an easy introduction besides Christmas Carol. I really liked it. I'm kind of ramping up to eventually read A Tale of Two Cities, and I'll also try and read Oliver Twist eventually, and then I think I'm just gonna stop Dickens after that, because he's a wordy man, a wordy man, and detail is great in the story. He knows how to tell a story, but man, it can go on and on. It can go on and on. So I gave David Copperfield a 4 out of 5. I did really enjoy it though. So that's what I read in March. I read Stephen King's It a long time ago, and I don't remember a lot of it because it was a while back. And I never put it in Goodreads, so I'm starting it over. I'm gonna read it. I probably won't finish it in April. It's huge, but I'm starting it in April. So just a preview of what I'll be talking about in my May 1st video. I'm gonna do Heir of Fire, which is the Throne of Glass 3. Big Little Lies. Are you guys watching that on HBO right now? Holy shit, it's amazing. I think the finale was last night, but I have not watched it. I'm 3 episodes behind right now because I want to finish the book before I finish the finale, because I just gotta read the book before you watch any version of the book. And then I'm in the middle of reading A Little Life by Hanya Yanahigura. Don't ask me, don't tell me. And I'm also reading Lily Collins' biography, Unfiltered, which I'm really excited about because I love me some Lilco. So that's a sneak peek of April. Let me know in the comments what you read in March, and if you've read any of the books I've mentioned, or if you have any books you'd like to recommend to me. I'm all for that, and that's all I have. Bye!